How do you know when you're overpaying for something like that versus skimping on quality when it's at such a large scale?
We know what we should be paying. We know the market. The biggest thing is what happens when you're big is your buying power is so good. And you would look at, say, a Martin Steakhouse or a McCormick and Schmick Seafood or whatever as decent sized company because they're doing a couple of $100 million in sales. But when you get acquired by a company that's doing over $3 billion in revenue, we have never not taken 5 points out of their cost. So if you just take a company, let's say you pay $200 million for, and it's doing let's just say $200 million in sales, and you take 5% out of their cost, that's $10 million a year and more EBITDA. And we've done it every time.
You said that anybody can ask you anything about any of your businesses and you'll know it all. Is that?
I think they edited that. Go ahead. But I'm pretty damn good, so fire at me.
No, I'm not trying to
No,
play gotcha.
but you can put me, no, I'm all right being a gotcha boy.
My first question is that something that you think you specifically are just obsessed with details, or do you think every entrepreneur should have a similar godlike knowledge?
Well, let me say this. My company's really big today, and I don't know a lot that's going on every day. But I put everything in place to begin with, and I can tell you this, there's nothing like history, okay? And what I have over everybody else is I know the story of every little thing and how it got to be there, right or wrong. Now, why was I successful? Because I do understand development. I can look at something, I know how to build it, I know how to create it, I know how to design it, but also I'm the person that I feel like understands what's trendy for our customers in our restaurants. It's my job. That's my job of being the leader to make sure that we don't get behind the 8 ball.
So what do you see in the future of the restaurant business?
The restaurant business is changing. Millennials eat differently. They want to hear different music. They want to sit at a higher table. They want to sit more in a group. And it's more small bites. Let's order, it's more communal, you know, it's not the same, it's more fun. And you just better change with it. If you don't, you're gonna get passed by.
You're no stranger to big business deals, but you're not the kind of guy who raises $100 million for a startup that doesn't even have a product in market yet. What do you think of the venture capital amounts being raised by some of these startups that really barely even have proof of concept?
You know, it's the old, you throw them all in the hat, and if you look at the people that tell you they made $1 billion on that one, they might have lost $1 billion on the other 9 that they put. When you hit it big like that, you're just playing the odds. And it's still hard to build a successful company because number one, you have to have a product that's really special that a bigger competitor cannot crush you. And then you better know all the aspects of the business that I always talk about: operations, sales, and financial.
Which of the following 3 sectors, casinos, restaurants, hotels, do you think is more in danger of being kind of disrupted or changed in a way that might take a lot of effort to manage?
Well, you know, and TV's helped do this. Restaurants are very competitive today because everybody who thinks they can cook can get investors, and the stupid investors help them open the restaurant and they're not there 2 years later. One of the things that has made my company strong is that I'm so location driven. Look at my locations. The Chart House in Weehawken that looks over has the prettiest view of the skyline of New York, that even during the recession wasn't affected in sales. Then you go to the Bubba Gump on Times Square. Okay, because of the amount of people, I can only put so many people in there, was not affected by the recession. Okay, location, location, location is just so very important. The gaming business is tough because it's so competitive today, and every state wants to keep building them because politicians love to say, I'm creating jobs, but politicians just don't do what's best for their constituents, but they do what they think the people want to hear. But then the other casinos in the market, because all the money's being drained out, don't have the money to refurbish and keep the rooms nice, keep the casinos nice, and that's how you have a screwed up market, like Atlantic City. Is because they kept building properties. They should have said 6 to 8 properties here, and that's it.
Do you believe in the concept of making your own luck? You know, being prepared, and when preparation and opportunity kind of overlap, that's when people get lucky?
You know, for sure. I can tell you this. I think a lot of people throw in the towel too hard, too fast, I mean. I think people throw in the towel and because they don't know how to fight. And I know the different points in my life I could have thrown in the towel and you'd be surprised how much fight you have in you, and how much fight you can put up against the other side if you just do it.
What are one or two of the riskiest bets that you made, and you really didn't have any way of having certainty of knowing that it was going to work, but you felt like you had conviction and you made a risky bet?
Well, I can tell you this. I mean, coming out of the recession in Vegas and Laughlin, we're not back. I did Atlantic City, and Atlantic City was probably the only business that I've ever opened up where it was truly losing $10 million a year. And then while that was happening, I went and opened up a new casino in Biloxi. And then while I was doing Biloxi, before it was back on its feet, I went and did almost $1 billion deal in Lake Charles, Louisiana. So I kind of rolled the dice on my gaming division all at the same time. And it really worked out well.
What gave you the confidence and the foresight to make those bets?
It's just a gut feel, and you feel like you know your business, and you feel like you're putting the right product, and it all turned at the same time. The next year, Atlantic City made 20 million, Biloxi made 30, and Lake Charles made 75.
Your experience working with these entrepreneurs on Billion Dollar Buyer, do you walk away from that experience feeling encouraged about the state of entrepreneurship and the mindset of today's young aspiring entrepreneurs, or were you surprised at the level of inexperience?
The level of inexperience is interesting, and a lot of them are more artists than business people, and their characters. And my feel good is that even the ones that I didn't purchase from, they're much smarter business people today. In just the days that I spent with them and analyzed their business, every single one of them has told me how much they've learned. And I probably have enjoyed that the most, is I know I've had an effect on these people's business.
What's the one mistake you think all small business owners make, pretty much?
Usually don't have enough working capital, and they don't know their numbers. I ask people, what do you do in sales? And they don't even know. I ask people how much money they make last year, they don't know.
What do you think is a common pitfall for someone who thinks, all right, I memorized all my numbers, I've got working capital, I'm set?
I think that a lot of them can start off and they get some of their product out there, but then they can't get it to the next level. The millennials, there's so many entrepreneurs that are millennials, and it's just too competitive out there. It's just hard to get there and to get the shelf space to sell it.
On shows like Shark Tank, you ask one of the sharks, well, you've made 10 investments in the past year. How are all those investments going? And they'll say, we're still working through a lot of growing pains, and there's even a follow-up show about what happens after they make the deal. How would you describe the state of the affairs with your existing brands that you're doing business with?
And I know that on Shark Tank, a lot of those deals don't happen,
right.
And I know on Restaurant Startup, a lot of those deals don't happen. And you can't do a television show and tell the whole story and get into all the due diligence.
Right.
And they're investing real money, so I see that side of it. What I'm trying to do is the day after the show runs, I'm trying to have that product in my store, the concept that I bought it for. So that's something I'm working really hard for them to see, and for the customer to see, and for the viewer to see that this was a real deal and it really did happen.